Good morning, Year 3, and welcome to today's reading. Today we're going to be doing our literal questions on the text Earth's Changing Mountains. So let me share it with you so that you can get started. First activity, so as you can see, it's Earth's Changing Mountains. Let's make that full screen. Fantastic. The first activity is going to be to your vocabulary starter, and you're going to have to read the sentences and choose the correct vocabulary word that you can find at the bottom and insert it into the sentence. I'm going to read them to you and then you're going to pause the video and answer those questions. The first one says, the great explorer cried tears of joy as she reached the mountain. You can pause the video and find the correct word. Morris painted a picture of a beautiful country. Pause the video to find the correct word. Hot lava erupted out of the cinder cone volcano. Pause the video so that you can answer those 3 questions. Great, fantastic. By now, hopefully you've done that. So let's have a look at the answers. For the first one, the great explorer cried tears of joy as she reached the mountain peak. Morris painted a picture of a beautiful country landscape. Number 3, hot molten lava erupted out of the cinder cone volcano. Fantastic. Let's move on to the next ones. Okay, so you go again, you're going to read the questions, pause the video after each one, and then insert the correct word. The Earth's crust is made up of huge. Okay, the Earth's crust is made up of huge. Pause the video and find the correct word. Question 5. Asia is the world's largest. Asia is the world's largest. And number 6. Can have a negative impact on the environment if people do not respect the places they visit. Pause the video so you can answer those 3 and insert the correct words into the sentences. Fantastic. By now you should have done that, so let's have a look. The Earth's crust is made up of huge tectonic plates. Asia is the world's largest continent. And tourism, should have it with a capital T, can have a negative impact on the environment if people do not respect the places they visit. Fantastic. Hopefully you got those right at home. We're going to move on to our literal questions. These literal questions require you to read the text to find the answer. The answers are explicitly stated in the text, so all you need to do is read the text to find the exact answer. Your steps to success are to underline the keywords in the question, find those same keywords in the text, and underline. Okay? And then you've got to answer the questions using full sentences. So what we're going to do now, sorry, I was just getting my text. We are going to read the text. You may have it at home printed off, or you can follow it with me on the screen. So this chapter is called What Are Mountains? I'm going to use my laser pen to follow it so that you can follow with me. What do you think of when you think of a mountain? Is it steep and rocky, with daring climbers clinging to its sides as they slowly make their way to the top? Or is it full of grassy slopes, where sheep graze and colourful mountain flowers grow? Whichever one you think of, you're right. A mountain can be both of these things and many others too. Let's read this next part together. All mountains are part of Earth's surface that stands high above their surroundings. Smaller rises are usually called hills. Some mountains are very steep and form high, pointed peaks. Well done, you found one of our words. Others have a more rounded shape, though the top of these mountains may be just as high. What I want you to do is pause the video so that you can read this next part by yourself, and then you're going to join me again here. So you're reading from a mountain all the way to chain. Pause the video so you can do that now. Fantastic. At 1,917 meters, Mount Washington is the highest peak in New Hampshire, USA. The mountain in the Presidential Range, which forms part of the larger White Mountains chain. They both belong to a mountain system called the Appalachians. Okay, we're going to go on to page 5. And this is called World of Mountains. Let's read this next part together. There are mountains all over the world with major ranges on every continent. There is even a high mountain range in Antarctica, the icy continent that lies around the South Pole. It stretches 3,500 kilometers, nearly 2,200 miles across the frozen land. You're going to read this next part by yourself. Pause the video when you've done that. So as you can see in this part, they were talking about the different mountains and where you can find them. So we've got Rocky Mountains that you can find in North America. You have Tian Shan and the Himalayas, both are found in Asia. So you can have a look at the different mountain ranges and see if you can identify the continents that they belong to. Looking at mountains, let's read this next part together. Mountains are formed in different ways and are shaped by wind and weather. There are many different kinds of mountains, including explosive volcanoes, which can cause major changes in the surrounding landscape. One of our key words today. I'm going to read this next part by myself. People live on, use and change mountains as well. In recent years, industry and tourism, well done, you found our keyword tourism, have had a great effect on many of the world's mountain ranges. In some places, this has brought problems. We need to think about some of the problems that tourism can have on different mountain ranges. Let's turn to page 6 now, which is how are mountains formed. So you are going to read this part by yourself at home. From mountains are formed all the way to tectonic plates. Restart the video again once you've read that. Fantastic. Jigsaw of plates. Earth, I'm going to read this by myself. Earth's plates fit together like a giant jigsaw, with the two sides of each plate close up against each other. The plates are not still. They are always moving, very slowly, by just a few centimeters each year. This means that some edges of the plates push against each other, and as they do, they buckle and bend at the edges. Over many thousands of years, this pressing and bending push mountains up from the Earth's surface. Very interesting to see that mountains are actually formed by rocks under the Earth pushing each other. And then eventually they keep pushing into each other and crashing, that it starts to rise and form a mountain. We're going to read this next part, which is on volcanoes. Volcanoes. Beneath Earth's crust, there is a thick layer called the mantle. Let's read this next part together. The rocks here are so hot that some of them have melted, making them runny like sticky toffee. In some places where one plate is forced beneath another, the hot, molten, well done, molten, rock forces its way through a crack in the Earth's crust and forms an erupting volcano. Let's keep reading together. Once it is on the surface, the molten rock cools and hardens again. If this goes on happening at the same spot for many thousands of years, the rocks build up to form a volcanic cone or a mountain. When a volcano has not erupted for many years, it is said to be dormant or sleeping. After thousands of years, it may be called extinct or dead, but the mountains formed by these volcanoes still remain. And you can read this text box by yourself at home. Fantastic. Okay, last page, shifting ground. I'm going to read this part to you, and then you're going to read this part together. There are lots of volcanoes around the edge of the Pacific Ocean. This circle of tectonic plate boundaries, I hope you spotted tectonic plate, boundaries around the Pacific Ocean is called the Ring of Fire. And it says to look on the map below, this orange lines here represent the Ring of Fire where there's tectonic plates boundaries. Throughout this whole area, erupting volcanoes changed the landscape. In 1980, for example, a volcano in the Cascade region in Washington State, USA, erupted. A huge explosion blew 400 meters off the top of Mount St. Helens. The surrounding area was covered in volcanic ash and rock. But before that day, Mount St. Helens had been dormant for 123 years. So it's interesting to see that dormant volcanoes can still erupt, even if they've been sleeping for a very long time. Let's read this last part together. This map shows the world's major plates. As the plates move very, very slowly, they change the shape of the continents and create mountains. There are mountain ranges on the ocean floor too. A huge range called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge stretches right down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Here, the plates are moving apart, allowing molten rock to force its way through and form mountains. Okay. And here you can see the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which stretches all the way down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Right, so we are going to answer, before we get on to that, I'm going to model exactly how I would like you to answer these literal questions. So I'm just going to share my screen again and show you exactly what I want to be seeing as we're answering these questions. So, following my steps to success, which I'm just going to put here, says underline the keywords in the question. So let me read the question and underline the key words. This question says, where can you find mountains? So I'm looking for where, which tells me it's going to be an area. And in my head, I'm going to remember that where is an area. And it says, where can you find mountains? So I'm looking for where, the area of mountains. Okay. And I am going to, what I should have also put is this, the answer of this is on page 5. So going to my text now, I'm looking for an area on page 5 where mountains can be. So let's start. Sorry, that's a bit rumpled. And I'm going to follow the next step, which is to find those same keywords in the text and underline. So world of mountains. There are, okay, so I found the word mountains, and it says there are mountains all over the world with major ranges on every continent. And even looking at the map as well, I can see that it's true. There are mountain ranges all over the world on every continent. So my question was, where can you find mountains? I need to now turn this into a full sentence because step number 3 says answer the questions in full sentences. So how can I answer that in a full sentence? Where can you find mountains? Using the same words for the question, I can say mountains can be found, or you can find mountains. I'm actually going to choose mountains can be found because I think it sounds slightly better when answering this question. And I'm going to try and use my neatest joined up handwriting. So, mountains making sure not to take my pen off the page until I finish writing the word, can be found all, remember it says where can it be found? It can be found all over the world. So I'm just going to keep all over the world, comma, and I can also say, add to that and say there are major ranges on every continent. There are major ranges on every continent. Full stop. And all I'm going to do is read it back to myself to make sure that it makes sense. Where can you find mountains? Mountains can be found all over the world. There are major ranges on every continent. And I'm happy with that, so I'm going to go on to the next question. This one we're going to do together. It says, what lies beneath the Earth's crust? Okay, so what lies beneath the Earth's crust? And you can find the answer for this on page 6. So what I want you to have a quick read at home and see if you can find the answer for this on page 6. I'm also going to page 6 and I'm going to skim read it. Mountains are formed over long periods of time. Remember the question says what lies beneath the Earth's crust. So I'm looking for what's beneath the Earth's crust. So those are the words that I'm going to be looking for. Okay, so I can find Earth's crust here, but it doesn't talk about what's beneath it. So let me keep reading. Still looking for Earth's crust or beneath. Can't seem to find it here, so I'm going to keep reading. Volcanoes. Ah, beneath the Earth's crust. Here are my key words. So beneath the Earth's crust, there is a thick layer called the mantle And the rocks here are so hot that some of them have melted. So, okay, beneath the Earth's crust, there is a thick layer called the mantle, which seems to be hot rocks. And some of them have melted. Okay, I'm ready now. I've underlined the keywords in the question. I found those same keywords in the text and underlined. I'm ready now to answer in a full sentence. So what lies beneath the Earth's crust? So I'm going to say beneath, I'm going to use the same words from the question. So beneath the Earth's crust, you can find a thick layer called mantle. Okay, so, or you could say beneath the Earth's crust lies a thick layer called mantle. So, beneath, again, neat handwriting joined up. Beneath the Earth, capital letter, because it's a proper noun, it's the name of a planet. Beneath the Earth's crust, comma, and I'm going to say lies a thick layer called mantle. Okay. And I'm going to read it back to myself and make sure that I'm happy with it. Beneath the Earth's crust, the question was, what lies beneath the Earth's crust? And I said, beneath the Earth's crust lies a thick layer called mantle. I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's exactly how I want you to be answering the questions, using the same keywords that you can find in the text. So what I'm going to do now is just reshare my screen and go back to the actual questions. Okay, so question 1, you can pause the video after I read the 2 questions and then answer them. What name is given to mountains that are joined together? Page 4. What is the longest mountain range and which continent can you find it? Page 5. Pause the video so you can answer those questions. Question 3. How are mountains formed? Page 6. Question 4. What is a dormant or sleeping volcano? You can also find that on page 6. Pause the video so that you can answer those questions. Question number 5. True or false? In 1980, a volcano in the Himalayas erupted. You can find this on page 7. And lastly, the challenge is using expanded noun phrases and descriptive words. Describe the Mount Washington's landscape. And you can find a picture of Mount Washington on page 4. So go back to page 4, have a look at Mount Washington and describe its landscape. Fantastic. Pause the video so that you can do that now. Okay, let's go through our answers. What name is given to mountains that are joined together? Mountains joined together are called mountain ranges. Question 2, what is the longest mountain range and which continent can you find it? The Andes is the longest mountain range, stretching at 7,200 kilometers long. It can be found in South America. Question number 3, how are mountains formed? Mountains are formed when rocks under the Earth's surface move over long periods of time. Question number 4. What is a dormant or sleeping volcano? This was on page 6. Sorry, excuse me. A dormant or sleeping volcano is one that hasn't erupted for many years. And question 5. True or false? In 1980, a volcano in the Himalayas erupted. It was false. The volcano Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, and that was in the Cascade Range. Okay, so hopefully you got some of those answers correct. Make sure you check your answers before you submit them onto Seesaw for your teachers. Okay, let me stop sharing. Thank you for watching today's reading video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to upload your work onto Seesaw so that your teachers can see it. See you in the next video, Year 3. Bye.